It's Ray Candy from Epic Gaming Night, and this is Favorite Game Friday. We have a group of contributors with completely different tastes in gaming talking about their favorite game in the category of the week. Last week we talked all about board games that remind you or are based on video games. Let's take a look at a few of the comments from last week. Cyril says, for me it has to be Gloomhaven because it reminds them of playing a lot of Diablo back in the day. Gloomhaven is definitely an awesome game where you get that whole dungeon crawl feel. Billy says they gotta give some love to flip ships. With the whole dexterity element, it feels like Space Invaders as the different ships are coming down and you're flipping your ships on there trying to knock those out before your stuff gets destroyed. Awesome game, I love flip ships and it's a great cooperative game. Steven says that Potion Explosion is basically like a board game version of all these like Bejeweled or Candy Crush style apps, and I couldn't agree more. It's like a great game, especially if you have like your mom or your family friends like are into those sort of games. You can throw Potion Explosion out there and it gives them that board game feel of a game. It might be an intro into more board game stuff. Awesome, well make sure to leave your comments down below and maybe we'll talk about it on next week's episode. Let's get to it. This week is all about board games from the 90s. Make sure to leave in the comments down below what your favorite game that came out in the 90s is, and let's get to the contributors' clips.
So my favorite game from the 90s is Samurai.
I gotta go with Grape Escape this week.
For Sale.
My favorite game from the 90s is a game that mixes Clue and Guess Who together, and that game is Mystery of the Abbey.
Mine is the first board game I personally owned, and that's Robo Rally.
The epitome of 90s gaming is the original cardboard crack, Magic the Gathering.
My favorite game from the 90s is Tikal.
Favorite guilty pleasure? Well, nobody plays it with me, so I'm gonna go with Blockus.
Hello, Greg Dixon from the podcast Hooked on Geek. My favorite from the 90s, I think I'm going to have to go with the modern classic Reiner Knizia card game, Lost Cities.
I grew up in the 90s and there's definitely a ton of awesome games that came out in this area and time frame. Make sure to leave in the comments down below what your favorite game that came out in the 90s is, and also make sure to check out all of our contributors on Instagram. We're talking about things we're excited about in tabletop gaming. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Favorite Game Friday, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.